Welcome to the Happiness Podcast. I'm Dr. Robert Puff. I met a man once who shared an interesting story with me. He had a wife, a couple kids, and a career that he was doing very well at, but he realized one day that with all the success he was having, he really wasn't that happy, especially if he compared himself to his younger self. He remembered how when he was younger and he had almost nothing, going to school, just getting by, that even in that impoverished state, he was happy. He could surf when he wanted to, he could hang out with friends, he could go for a run. There were so many things he did that didn't cost him any money. Now he does remember when he was younger dreaming about making a lot of money and all the things that he could buy, and he thought he'd be so much happier. And then what was interesting, he realized that he had all those things now. But in many ways, with all those things came pressures, and with those pressures, he lost happiness. He said, I could make more in a day than I used to make in a month when I was younger, and yet with all this money, I'm not any more happier. And in many ways, I'm less happier because I worry about things more, and I'm always wanting more. Because in his line of work, there were people that made more than him, and he thought, well, maybe if I make as much as them, then I'll be happy. But then he also realized that this is it. Because every time he reaches his goal, he's not happier. It didn't make any difference in his life. And I have to admit, I was proud of him for seeing that insight, because I think a lot of people are waiting for someday I'll. And that someday I'll sometimes comes, sometimes it doesn't. But when it comes, it often lets us down. And we aren't any more happier, even though we got all our dreams fulfilled. Why is that? Let's explore this in today's podcast. Well, first off, in life, no matter what we have, there'll always be things that we could have more of, no matter what it is. If we live in a small place and have to sleep on the floor, we could dream of someplace bigger where we have our own room. If we have our own place that now we're living in, perhaps with not even a roommate, we could dream of a place that we own. Once we buy our first place and own it, we could dream of a bigger place, perhaps with a yard. And then, maybe with time, when we have that place, we'll dream of something in a beautiful neighborhood that's a beautiful home too. And then we can dream of having a home on the ocean and how beautiful that will be. But what happens is, as you can probably imagine, in all these dreams of someday when it arrives really doesn't make any difference. And so often when it arrives, we're quickly looking for the next thing instead of enjoying what's happening right now. And at its core, that's why so many people struggle in life, because they're waiting for life to change instead of celebrating and loving the way life is. It isn't that we can't change things, it's just most of the time we need to be enjoying what is, whatever that is. When we're looking for the future and wishing things were better, what will happen is, when we get there, it may not be better. I mean, I know sometimes it is, particularly when we're in difficult situations. But what happens is, always waiting for someday, is that in the process, we're missing out on all that we have right now. And there probably are a lot of things that we could celebrate that we have right now. And though I know this is going to sound extremely simplistic, it really works. Right now is where the happiness is. Right now is where we need to live, because the future is often uncertain, it's unpredictable, and it doesn't always turn out the way we think it will or the way we hope it will. And though goal setting can be wonderful, we have to be careful, because often or sometimes we do reach our goals. But when we reach our goals, the happiness that we thought we would find there isn't there. And so what do? We may have just spent 3 months, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years of our lives reaching this goal. And then we get there, we think, oh my goodness, I'm not as happy as I used to be. What happened? It's because we're waiting until someday I'll reach these goals or get what I want, and then I'll be happy. And what we have is right here, right now. Now, mind you, I think goals can be extremely important, but not in the way you may typically think. I think often we reflect on goals and say, I'm going to make this at any cost. And then we get there and there's a lot of collateral damage. What if instead we said, okay, what goals do is goals will keep my heart safe. And they keep me safe in two ways. The one way is, if you think about like living in the now, a typical response would be, well, I'm going to live in the now. I'm just going to do crazy stuff, like get drunk and party and have a good time and not worry about anything. Well, that's dangerous living. We don't want to live that way. I think that's where goals can be very helpful. We can have goals to be healthy. We can have goals to live a long life. We can have goals to live well and be overall just successful in our happiness and in our life. And those goals help us to make good decisions, like being faithful to our partner, staying away from drugs and alcohol, and just doing things that are really good for our physical and mental health. The second thing I think where goals are super helpful is because we are trying to live in the now, then we say, okay, what goal could I come up with that I would enjoy getting there, because the process is to enjoy the journey. What could I do, for example, in my career that I would both enjoy working towards, like I would enjoy the classes that I take or the skills that I would learn and practice in my training, and then if I get there, I'll enjoy doing that too, versus I want to make a lot of money or something else, just want to win an award or get a diploma, whatever it might be, without thinking about, but do I even enjoy this? It's far more important to enjoy the journey of life, and goals can remind us, well, what journey do I want to be moving towards where I enjoy what I'm doing and working towards improving it? For example, think if we love art. I think art is a great profession. Well, we have to take classes. We have to do things to learn the skill. We may even go to school and get our MFA. And then along the way, we get to do art. It's a win-win. We get a skill that we learn and we get to do what we love. Let's say we love business. We really love, say, fashion. We think fashion is cool. We like it. And so we go to business and learn about fashion. And then we start perhaps our own clothing line and make money doing that. But we're artistic. We get to do what we want. And we get to do what we're excited about. That's how goals play an effective and useful role in our lives. We have to have goals that, one, we're excited about, and two, we'll enjoy the journey of working towards the goals, so if perchance we don't get there, we had a lot of fun getting there. Why living in the now is also so important is we're just not guaranteed an extended period of time. I mean, this could potentially be the last day of our life for any of us. A drunk driver could get us. We could be diagnosed with a terminal disease. We could, in so many ways, come to the end of our days much sooner than we thought. Wouldn't it be better to say, okay, I get it. This may be my last day, or I may only have a few years left. Well, if that's true, I'm going to really suck the marrow out of life and live well. But keeping goals there to help us from not straying too far off or getting involved in things that really can have negative consequences. It's wisdom to know that this makes my heart smile, but it won't in the short term or long term hurt me. That's what we're working towards, living in the now without decisions in the now causing us pain in the future. We can do both. It just takes thinking about what we're doing. What are the consequences of what we're doing? Could we do what we're doing better by enjoying it more now? And let's say, for example, we're really doing things that we don't like, and we just don't like our life. Then what we do is we say, okay, I get it. I want to live more in the now and enjoy what I'm doing now. What are the little steps I could take to start making my life better? Perhaps I could come home, instead of turning on the television and going into mind numbing, I could sit outside and have my meals outside and enjoy nature. Perhaps I could go on a camping trip once a month just to get away and be in nature. Perhaps I could start enjoying the local art museums or variety of things that I enjoy that really, after I do them, make my heart happy. I mean, think about this. With alcohol, when we drink, the next day, often, if we drink heavily, we feel horrible. Now, in the same sense, if we go for a nice walk in nature and watch a sunset, the next day we don't feel horrible because of that. So we're looking for things like that, that one, bring joy to our hearts and don't the next day cause suffering. Another one would be intimacy with a partner. I mean, if we're not ready to be a parent and have a child, then we have to make choices that when we're intimate with our partner, which is a beautiful experience, we won't create something that we're not ready for. So living in the now, but living in the now wisely, is about making choices that we can live with, that we enjoy, and we're thankful for. So then we create relationships that are beautiful. We do things that we're doing for the sake of doing them. And sometimes the choices we make it so that we may not have as much stuff. But I think if we've lived long enough, we all know that stuff in the long run doesn't make us happy. I mean, if it did, every wealthy person should be the happiest person on the planet. And I think we all know that isn't true. And we can even reflect on our own lives to prove this point. I mean, hasn't there been something that you've wanted, desperately wanted, and you thought when you get it, you'd be the happiest camper on the planet? And then you got it? And you weren't? I mean, when we live long enough, we may desire things, but when we get them, it is a thrill. But the thrill doesn't last very long, and quickly we turn to the next thing. And that's where things don't make us happy. It isn't that it's wrong to have stuff, but don't look for stuff to put a smile on your heart. Make living in the present moment the goal. And if we do that well and wisely, then we'll find that our lives, one day at a time, one breath at a time, truly amount to an astonishingly beautiful life, which we can all have if we work at it, if we make it our goal, and we never give up. We just keep saying, okay, I want a better life. I'm going to keep working on this and keep working on this until I get it. And with time, it really does get good. It takes work. It takes effort, but it's worth it. So let's not give up. Let's keep learning about the skills of happiness. I promise to keep sharing what I learned with you. And if you have ideas you want to share with me, I would love that. As we grow together and as we learn about what truly makes life a beautiful experience, I think one of the deep secrets of that is living in the now and not waiting until someday I'll reach a goal. Goals can be very helpful, but mostly we just live in the here and now and are ever so thankful for each day we're given, because life is a gift. And with that gift, happiness embraces us with our love of life. Thank you for joining me on the Happiness Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the podcast, please go to happinesspodcast.org. And until next time, accept what is, love what is.